Russian President Vladimir Putin is running out of options to stop the steep slide of his nation's currency. Last week, Putin tried the tactic of political intimidation. In a speech, he threatened currency traders, saying the authorities know who the speculators are and have the tools to influence them. The time has come to use those tools. Then yesterday, the central bank raised its key interest rate by a full percentage point to 10.5%, its fifth increase this year. But that also failed as pressure on the economy mounts from plunging oil prices. Today, the ruble fell to yet another all-time low. Over the last year, it has lost more than 40%. This week alone, it's down nearly 10% against the U.S. dollar. That triggered protests today outside the central bank with signs that read, "You've stolen our future and save our families." For many Russians, the collapse in the currency has put them underwater. The cost of imported goods is much higher, and the monthly payment for those holding the foreign currency mortgages has skyrocketed as much as 200%. The last word on this goes to Conrad Black. Thank you for coming in today.
Oh, thank you for having me. Look, I have been saying since I've been blue in the face, I mean, until I became so, that the Saudis are doing this, and they're doing this to get the Iranians to stop their nuclear program and to stop the Iranians and the Russians from meddling in Syria and with Hezbollah and Hamas. And they've said they're bringing the oil price to $50. That, not our great Western leaders, Obama and Merkel and the rest of them, our glorious Saudi allies are doing this.
So it broke 50, oil broke 58 today. If you're right, and that is, in fact, the motivation behind all of this, and we get to 50, what happens then?
Well, if the Russians would stop the adventurism that's irritating the Saudis, then they would raise the oil price. I mean, you know, the Saudis are happy to make money in oil. But I don't want to oversimplify, but that's the principal ingredient. And the vulnerability of Russia is clear, and it's always been there. It's in the late 80s, President Reagan sold AWACS, advanced reconnaissance planes, to Saudi in exchange for Saudi bringing the oil price down then, and it really forced Gorbachev's hand. That was the beginning of the end of the Cold War. And Russia it's a great country and a great nationality, but they've never had one day of good government, and it's a basket case economically.
Well, and from a policy perspective as well right now, because obviously what the Saudis do is outside of their control. So if you look at the policy measures that have been taken this week, you've got a 100 basis point rise in interest rates. You've had presumably some pretty strong intervention by the central bank. You've had them trying to talk down the risk of speculators.
But it isn't a normal monetary crisis. You're not going to address it that way.
So how do you...
If Putin is serious, he'll say, right, we've turned a new page here. We are going to be a force for peace and the end of the Assad regime in Syria. And we think it's time that Hamas and Hezbollah dealt with the Israelis.
And in the meantime, in terms of monetary policy, fiscal policy, you don't see any kind of traditional measures doing anything to stem the losses?
They've never worked in Russia. It's never been a hard currency country. And it's a thugdom, and the whole place is controlled by the cronies of the president. That would work in Canada or the United States or Germany or Britain or something, but it's not going to work there.